Hello and welcome to Meet Our Makers, an artist interview podcast produced in association with Beats Per Minute. I'm your host, Jeremy J. Facette, and on this episode, we get to meet Rostam. Rostam is a singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, composer, producer, who you may know best as being part of Vampire Weekend for their first 3 records and also the producer for those records. But he has quite an extensive solo career at this point and solo production career. And he has just released his brand new record called American Stories, which is out now on his own record label. In this chat, Rostam and I talk quite a bit about that new record, some of the lyrical inspiration, especially some of the musical inspiration, where he tries to mix sort of Western American instrumentation with Persian instrumentation and musicality, as well as what it feels like for him to be sort of stationed back in New York after some time in LA. We talk about production choices, what he loves about being a producer, especially when it's not his own project. We talk about songwriting, we talk about family, we talk about Americanness, and a lot of other things. I was so happy to have him here and excited for everyone to listen to this chat and also to listen to this record. It's kind of a summery vibe. As we say towards the end of the chat, we're hoping that it's an album of the summer. So thank you for listening. This is me meeting Rostam. I'm good. Thanks for coming and hanging out for a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to.
Yeah. So I invited you here on the precipice of this new record of yours, American Stories, which is out May 15th, on your label, Matzer?
Well, it's my first name backwards.
Right,
so
right. Yeah. How are you feeling as we approach this big day?
I feel pretty good. I'm excited about people hearing the whole record. I've only, at this moment when we're doing this podcast, I've only released one song so far, and I'm releasing the second single tonight at midnight. And there's a video that I'm really proud of. It comes out tomorrow at noon.
Right.
But I'm guessing by the time this airs, that will all be out in the world. So people will be in the process of connecting to it. But I think what I'm learning about how people connect to things in this era is that it takes time, you know? It takes time for even just friends to reach out and say, oh, I love this new song, and it's been out for 3 or 4 weeks. It's an interesting era, whereas it may perhaps in the past you reached people more instantly. And maybe there's pluses and minuses about that.
I mean, have you been kind of sitting on this record for a while?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not really. And I would say, I feel like it was a little more than a year ago that I really sort of hunkered down and cleared my schedule and was focused only on finishing this record. Even though I'd been working on pieces of it for years, it was about spring of 2025 that I was like, I want to finish this album now.
Yeah, because it's been about 5 years since the last record of yours, Change Phobia. And of course, anyone who knows what you get up to, you've been very busy in the interim. But I mean, like, in terms of outside of making this record, like, what are some of the sort of the biggest like goings on in your life between that era of your career and now?
I think one thing that I'm sort of still in the process of doing, and as I talk to you now, I'm here, but it's not a finished project. But I've been setting up a small studio here in Chinatown in New York, and it's been a couple years, or a year and a half in the making, finding this space and then sort of renovating it so I can hopefully make music here. And I think I will be able to make music here, but I lived in New York between 2002, when I arrived at Columbia University, and the end of 2013. And 2013 was an interesting era for me because we were touring the third Vampire Weekend album. I turned 30 in that fall, And then I also decided to leave New York City and come and move to LA. And leaving New York was surprising to me, because I had sort of, when I came to New York for college, I fell in love, and I was kind of like, I'm never going to leave this city. I love this city.
Yeah.
And then I sort of fell out of love with the city.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I'm sort of falling back in love with the city.
Yeah. I mean, what compelled you to go back?
Well, I think part of it is being able to find a space that's a space that's very compact, where I could have a little bit of studio equipment, and have a piano, have a couple guitars, have enough to be able to write songs. Because what I found that I didn't like about returning to New York, no longer living there, was that I didn't have anywhere I could make music unless I wanted to pay money to a recording studio, which was something that I somehow never had to do. Like back in the day, the 3 Vampire Weekend records and Discovery album were made in whatever apartment I had, predominantly, yes, we used other studios at times, but my apartment also served as a kind of a home base, and I always had some kind of recording setup. I always had an upright piano, one that I was renting, and then one that I was buying, and so to stay in a hotel in New York was this really weird feeling where I would start to feel, after a day or two, I'd start to feel like my hands were tied behind my back, and I couldn't make anything, and it made me feel kind of like, well, let me get out of here. and I think just having a home base in New York has changed that, and made me feel kind of like, oh yeah, I can stay creative, and I can be in this city that gives me so much life. It gives me so much energy and inspiration, and aesthetically, like the new album, I feel like is, well, we made a video where I'm sort of lip syncing almost every song on the album, and I'm doing it in different parts of New York City. So there's a lot of connecting back with New York on this record, which I'm excited about, and it feels right.
Yeah. So yeah, let's dig into the record a little bit. So American Stories. I mean, first of all, I'm curious about the title, of course. I'm sure you've talked about it a few times by now, but how'd you land on that title, and why does it resonate with you?
Well, I am, in my family of 4, I'm uniquely the only one who was born in America.
Oh, okay.
Everyone is an American citizen, but my brother was born in France. Both of my parents were born in Iran. And my mom came to America when she was pregnant with me. So I've always sort of, in the back of my mind, I've wondered about the sort of privilege of being born in America. And, what's interesting is, like, the rights of citizenship may be in flux. It seems like they wouldn't be, but they may be. But one privilege that anyone born in America has is that they could be president, which is I guess sort of, it's been, I don't know, it's been on my mind, like, what does that mean, that I could be president? I'm not saying that I'm interested in being president, but just to have that right, and for the 3 other people in my family not to have that right, it makes me think about my connection to this country. And I think that about a year ago, when Zoran Mamdani's campaign started gaining traction and sort of, I felt, really changing the discourse of politics in all of America, and I think I would say in the whole world. You finally had somebody saying things that people who identify as Democrats would either avoid speaking on or say the wrong things. I think it's fair to say things that don't resonate with the general public, and I think in 2028 we're going to have to contend with this again. Where does the Democratic Party want to run a candidate who reflects the views of the left, or are they interested in something else? And I think for me, seeing somebody like Zoran be able to sort of reframe the conversation, it gave me a lot of hope about what I call the American project. And to me, the American project is what is America, not necessarily in reality, but sort of like, what is it in our hearts and our minds, and what is the version of America that we as individuals want to see and want to bring about? And I think my desire is to bring a sense of optimism with this record and with this album title and with the flag, which I know is controversial, but I'm not using the flag to express a negative sentiment towards America. I'm sort of expressing my own feelings of positivity and hope and optimism towards an America that is in flux. And the truth is, America's always been in flux.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's anything new in a way. And that's why I felt like using the flag upside down was meaningful to me. And it's meaningful to people on the left. It's meaningful to people on the right. It's meaningful to Native Americans who have sort of been disenfranchised from the left and the right. Mm-hmm. So it has a lot of meanings. And I like that. I like that sort of multinodal aspect of orienting the flag upside down. So American Stories, I'm sort of trying to invite people in to my world and invite people into a larger conception of what is America.
Yeah. I mean, would you consider this a political record?
Well, I think all music is inherently political. And if anyone ever says, like, my music's not political, well, even attempting to make apolitical music is in and of itself a political act.
Right.
However, at the same time, I like the idea that the politics of the record are something that people can have disagreement and discussion about. That's something that, to me, that is an effective way of bringing about a political discourse, or a discourse about anything. It doesn't have to be political. I want people to discuss the album and have different thoughts on the music, on the lyrics. I want people to not have a consensus necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, what were some of the things like going on for you, either personally or just observationally, that you feel kind of compelled you into these songs?
Well, one realization that I've had as I've done interviews about this record is that I could never make an album that was just about one thing, a so-called concept album. I think I would find that fatiguing, and I think that a potential listener would find that fatiguing. So I would say there's some things on this record that describe a current moment, or I shouldn't say current. Yeah, well, they describe a moment in America in the last couple years. Mm-hmm. Then there's other songs that, reference a relationship that didn't work out, and looking back on that relationship, but not wanting to cast it aside as sort of like as something that was flawed and meaningless, or flawed and without worth, and wanting to sort of take the good from a relationship, even one that didn't work out. And also, I think I'm also interested, like on a song like a Spark, I'm sort of examining what are desires that we have from relationships, period. What does it mean to like to love somebody, and is interwoven in that love a desire to possess them, or can you love someone but also want them to feel, completely free inside of that love?
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that song because that's the you mentioned there's only one single out at this exact moment, and that's that song. I'm always curious about first singles, and especially if they're also the lead track of a record. Sort of like, was there any sort of like weight to choosing this one as like the entry point, or did it kind of just feel natural because it was the first song on the record?
I think there's some songs on this record where I'm not really interlacing Persian music and American music, and there's other songs where I'm really digging into that interweaving of these seemingly disparate traditions. I think Like a Spark felt like the nice entry point where, it sounds American, and then about halfway through it starts to build in some of these more Middle Eastern sounds, and I felt like it was inviting people into this world. And then the song that's coming out tonight in a handful of hours is called Back of a Truck, and I think that one takes it up another notch, where you have this pedal steel, which is maybe the most American sound that you could imagine.
Yeah.
And then there's even more Persian music happening, and it's even more microtonal. So sort of like it's pushing further in that Middle Eastern direction. So I also think Back of a Truck is a catchy pop song. I don't know if Like a Spark is, but I'm proud of it. But I think Back of a Truck is more of a pop song, if I'm honest. Like a Spark, I think there's a lot. I mean, I think there's a lot going on, and I will say that in rehearsing it, I do feel a certain joy performing it, and I think that's a good sign.
Yeah.
But yeah, as the first single goes, like I'd actually prefer not to put out track one as the first single, because I love the idea that when people hit play on Thursday night at midnight when the album drops, that they're hearing a song they've never heard before.
Yeah.
Which is something that we're not doing, because tracks 1 and 2 are also singles 1 and 2. But yeah. I think me and Hamilton Lighthouser actually did that same thing with the album we made together, I Had a Dream That You Were Mine. I think it's like 1,000 times followed by In a Blackout. Those are tracks 1 and 2. So right there, just starting it off with a couple of hits.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a funny way to look at it, but I get that. Like, if you have especially the first single being the first song, because it comes out so many weeks prior, that people have potentially listened to it so many times, and then they're excited for the record to come out, and they press play, and it's the song I've already heard, 1 or 2 dozen times. So yeah, I mean, I totally get that. I feel that way about when closers are singles, because like I always want the closer to feel like this like momentous send off or something, and then when it's the first, especially the first single, I sometimes avoid it. I'm like, I don't want. It's like having the ending of the movie ruined.
You know what's an interesting example of that? Paper Planes by MIA. I'm pretty sure that's the last song on Kala.
Oh,
and it's
I
weird.
forgot all about that.
Yeah, it's like a weird combo.
Yeah.
that album was very big for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to put like the obvious pop song at the end,
Right. That alone
and
is kind of
also
an interesting move.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, for sure.
Like Formation 2 was the last track on Lemonade by Beyonce. Like these big like world dominating songs, and then they're the closers.
I almost don't even when I think of Lemonade, I don't think that Formation is on it. It feels like it was like a separate release.
Yeah, you're not alone in that. So one of the songs that really stuck out to me, I was thankfully able to listen through to this record this afternoon before our chat. One of the ones that stuck out to me is the one, I think it's right in the middle. Forgive is to know, which is kind of this spacier song. It's maybe the longest song on the record, if my memory serves me. But I was curious, sort of, what this song represents for you, or represents for the album at large. Like, what, if you don't mind, like, what is the song kind of getting at or addressing for you?
Forgive Us to Know is a song that it started with the chords, and I took it on a couple trips up and down the East Coast, and I had, the chords in a recording that I had made on Dropbox, and I actually do a meta thing, and I sort of sing about that on the song. I talk about the chords are set in stone, but the words I'm working on.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a song where I wrote the chorus, which is a quote of Alexander Pope.
Oh.
To err is human, to forgive divine. Which is something that I guess I grew up hearing that. It's it's an aphorism. It's at least 100 years old, I think. But it really stuck with me, and it sort of kickstarted me down this journey to build a song around this concept of forgiveness. And it took me to the most basic research, which was like to look up, what does forgiveness mean? What does it mean to forgive? And that's also something that I reference in the song. There's a lyric that says, a thing about forgiveness is that it takes a change, where once you were a victim, you no longer feel the same. Which is something that I don't know that I would have just spouted that off if you asked me in this interview, what does forgiveness mean? And I hadn't written this song. So it sort of forced me to engage deeply with this concept of forgiveness and the word forgiveness. And I've said this in other interviews, but one of the things I love about making Rostam albums is getting lost in the process of songwriting. And having something like coming up with this chorus, to err is human, to forgive divine, and then being like, okay, now you have to build a song around it.
Yeah.
And I spent years writing the verses of that song, and I just collected them in my notes app, and I probably wrote 5 or 10 more verses that could fit in any song. And then when I set about recording it, I also started writing some of my favorite lines on that song. I wrote after I'd recorded, or after I'd begun the recording process. There's a lyric there that's, the institutions don't reward the compassionate. And that just kind of came out of me as I was recording. And again, like this for me relates back to this feeling that I love about making records, where you're in it, you're in this process, you don't know exactly where you're heading, and you're lost. And at some point you get an album title, or you get a concept that starts to push you closer to like a true north, or feels like, oh, this is where we're going.
Yeah.
And I love the experience of allowing different things that I'm interested in, whether it's Persian music, Americana, or just the concept of forgiveness. I love letting those things kind of be my guides, and then making an album that hopefully has something to say about these different things, these disparate things. And in putting them together, I think the magic of the album making process is that you can say something that's larger than the sum of the parts, and you can say something that you don't fully understand. I think that is, to me, the most beautiful thing about making an album, because you kind of can't know what the songs mean together until you put them together.
Right.
And because you've spent years of your life making these songs, I mean, some people write songs much quicker than that, but for me, it does take years. Cute dog in the background.
Oh, yeah. She's eavesdropping.
Yeah, because it takes years. I guess I like the kind of sort of like, okay, now you have to put this album out. And I've had this conversation with other people who make albums, like Jimmy Stack, for example, said this, and it really stuck with me. He's like, you haven't really finished it until you've put it out. Like, that's the last stage of finishing something.
Yeah.
And I think it does give you a sense of what an album is that you can't have until you do it. So it's this interesting position that we who love albums and love making albums put ourselves in, where you kind of just have to do it, and you don't know what it is until it's in the world.
Yeah. By that metric, it makes me want to know, then how did you know that this one was done and ready to send off? Because it's 9 songs, about a half hour in length. Did you always know it was these 9 songs, or was there some you had to like kind of kill your darlings a little bit, or like?
Well, I always wanted to make an 8-song album.
Okay.
And I never made an 8-song album. I've produced 14 albums in my career. Some of them my own, some of them others. Mm-hmm. But I've never done an 8-song album. It turns out I've also never done a 9-song album. So when a 9th song appeared, it was a seed. I had the seeds of it, and then I was able to finish writing it, and at that point there were 8 other songs. But then I was like, okay, you want to do an 8-song album? Well, you also want to do a 9-song album, because you're also allowed to do a 9-song album because you've never done that before.
Yeah.
So yeah, the finishing process, I get anxiety just thinking about it. Like, oh gosh, I don't want to think about what it's like to finish another album. But
yeah,
you pretty much you just got to keep doing it until it's done, and then they take it away from you. I'm just kidding.
I know. I feel like at some point you just gonna have to be like, all right, take it. Like I'll keep toying with it if you don't take it, because like it's an endless process. Yeah,
some people talk about that, like you can make it get different, but not necessarily better.
Right. You've mentioned this a little bit already, but I do want to talk about the music of this record, because it is sort of a blend of certain styles that were, as you say, maybe a little disparate, and you tried to kind of like marry the two, specifically Western music and Persian music, and sort of hallmarks of both, and how you tried to kind of, meld them. What kind of led you down that path to this sort of sonic landscape?
Great question. Okay. It really started with my mom, because my mom has always said, you need to make an album that really fully integrates Persian music. And even after hearing this album, my mom was like, awesome, but when are you going to start singing in Persian? So I realize it's like kind of, she'll never be happy, but you know, that's, you know, some people get a mom who's happy with everything they do, and some people get a mom who will never be happy, and I wouldn't trade my mom for the world. But so I had that in the back of my mind, dating back to, oh gosh, just like, I think like change phobia for me, there's like this sort of, I had a concept in my mind of wanting to blend jazz with just like songs. I mean, jazz is both deeply integrated and connected with the world of song, and also something somewhat separate from song. So that was sort of the conceit of change phobia. If you can believe it, Half-Light was supposed to be, I mean, and it's funny because I actually have never been able to talk about this, but the original version of Campus was the template for the sound of Half-Light. It was supposed to be about vocals and strings, like classical strings and vocals. That was my concept that I went into making Half-Light. And of course it strays, it deviates from that sound. But for me, that was really what I wanted to be the sort of the point of inspiration. So Half-Light was about classical strings and song. Change Phobia was about jazz, and specifically jazz sax and song. And then this album was supposed to be about Persian music. And I think it was when I brought in Daniel Aged, who plays all the pedal steel on the record. I brought him in, I think originally to play on the song Back of a Truck, and I had not written vocal melodies or lyrics for Back of a Truck. I had just had this vision. I was just like, you know what? If Daniel comes and plays on this song, it's going to do something, and whatever it does is going to push you in like I was saying about like when you're lost, you're trying to find where to go. I just knew that getting Daniel to play pedal steel on the song was going to push the song in the most righteous direction. I don't know how else to say it. And so that did happen. So as soon as Daniel started playing on the song, I became excited about pedal steel becoming another tone that was woven into the fabric of this record, where I had already begun the journey of, I was working with Amir on the Persian stuff. I was working on putting Persian stuff on songs that weren't fully written. I was working on putting the pedal steel on songs that weren't fully written. I was kind of just like in the midst of it. And I think that's where it was really that song Back of a Truck where I was just like, okay, you can both make this record that your mom wants to hear, which is using Persian music as one of the main inspirations. And you can also bring in these pillars of Americana like pedal steel, and you can bring them together. And as soon as I started to do that, I was like, oh, this is something that makes me happy, not just sort of like, it doesn't just feel like I'm making a beautiful object, but I feel some kind of like a sense of like I'm making myself whole in making this music. Like, cause I do love, I'll be honest, like I love pretty music. I love beauty in music. I love beautiful objects. I strive to make beautiful objects. I try to make any recording that I'm part of, I try to make it in some ways as beautiful as possible. But I think there's another side to it, which is to make something that's both musically beautiful, and also that is like contributing to some concept of like progress. Like however you want to define that, but like pushing things forward, like trying to make music that's next level, like whatever that means. And that, you know, I think you could make music that's just acoustic guitar and vocal, and there could be ways to make a record that was next level. That was actually, there's a lot of artists that I'd love to hear them make that kind of record, because I think it would be next level.
Yeah.
So that's my long ass answer to your question. It's a good question.
No, I mean, I appreciate that. I've had it stuck in my brain since you said it earlier that the pedal steel is kind of the most American instrument that you could think of. What's the most Persian instrument, if you had to pick one?
Well, for me, I think it's more about the melodies.
Okay.
That you could play them on different instruments. And on this record, Amir, we used a couple different saz. So a saz, it actually just means instrument in Turkish and in Persian. But there's an electric saz, which was something that he bought in Istanbul. And it's kind of like, it's as if someone created a small Stratocaster that has the ability to play microtonal melodies on. So it has this really unique sound where it's like, it sounds like electric guitar in some ways, and in other ways it sounds like, sounds like this ancient Persian music because of the melodies that you're playing on them. So one of my favorite, it's called a gushe, is called Rast Panjgah. And it's like a collection of melodies that you can play on a number of instruments, and you can also sing. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I do feel like I've heard a lot of, I mean, I'm not like terribly well versed in Persian music,
Sure.
but I do feel like when I think of it, I often think of the voice. Because I do feel like there is such a distinctive singing style and tone and melody. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I do see what you're saying, that like this, whatever melody I'm thinking of from a voice could just as soon be played on something else, and it would still have that same like effect.
And that is a big part of Persian music, is where a vocalist and an instrumentalist will sort of trade, take turns expressing melodies, like imitating one another.
Yeah.
That's another fundamental component of Persian music. And as I say that to you, I'm thinking like, oh, and that's kind of what you're doing on the song Back of a Truck, where it has that breakdown and there's a pedal steel line, and then it's followed by this violin that's playing this microtonal violin stuff, where it's sort of, it's my own take on that, imitative.
Yeah. I mean, was that a challenge artistically, like melding these two worlds for you?
Yeah, but like I said, I just feel like if all I did was try to make beautiful music, and listen, there's a part of me that entertains that. I think I'd get restless.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously you kind of, most people came to know you via Vampire Weekend, who we've mentioned a couple of times. You actually just recently put out the Young Lion original version. I was going to call it a demo, but it's not. It's an original version, right?
Well, it's a newer version, actually, that was recorded at Sound City.
Okay.
With my American Stories band. And it's part of this 8-song concert film.
There's your 8 songs.
Boom.
Yeah.
I was hungry for that, for
Apparently.
an 8-song. But I noticed there's other records that I feel like, at least, I think there's one other, but I noticed like the 9-song thing is trending, because Robin's album was 9 songs too.
And it was also about a half hour in length. So I don't know. Something's in the air.
We're on trend.
So I guess with the Young Lion thing, I mean, I know I read a little bit about when it was released recently. I read a little bit about it, but why was it sort of important for you to include that song in this moment of your career? I mean, I know you play it live sometimes in your live show, um, but why do you carry it with you, I guess is the question.
Well, it was uniquely in the Vampire Weekend days. It was the only song that I sang all of, and I wrote all of. And when I wrote it, the melodies that I wrote for piano, they always sort of reminded me of Persian music. So then when I put together this American Stories band, and I have Amir Yagmai from the Voids playing the saws and the electric saws, it just felt like this was a great opportunity to sort of take a song that had touched on Persian music melodically and push it even further in that direction with being able to use instruments that are Middle Eastern and just letting the song live on and grow and
I know you still work production wise sometimes with the Vampire Weekend guys. I mean, you were on at least one song from the last record, but is there anything you miss about being firmly in a band, or do you feel pretty good about like staying solo? I mean, I know you have players around you, but you know what I mean.
No, sure, I know what you mean. I think the untold story that sort of intersects with your question is my feelings about being in a band predating being in a band and also while I was in the band. Because I always saw myself perhaps in a different light. And I can understand that, as you say, like people did get to know me from those 3 Vampire Weekend records because I devoted myself to making those records and promoting them.
Yeah.
And it was very forward facing. But it was really producing those records that was the joy for me, and actually the responsibility. I felt an immense amount of responsibility in making those records. And I don't think those records would be what they were had I not felt this great responsibility.
Yeah.
And I feel really good about the choices that I made in that era, and I feel really good about the choices that I've made since. It's very hard to imagine the road not forking.
Yeah.
It's very hard to imagine for me, and people who are into astrology will be like, oh, well, of course, he's a Sagittarius. But there is I'm not an astrology guy.
Yeah.
Are you?
I mean, I'm a Taurus, but I don't know.
Okay, I've historically had a lot of Tauruses in my life.
Oh, okay.
My older brother is a Taurus. Someone that I saw for a number of years is also a Taurus. So
we're very stubborn, apparently.
I don't know. See, this is the thing. I always like to ask. Whenever I meet somebody and they want to talk about signs, I think it's a great opportunity for me to ask. So, what do they say about? And then put it on you. And what do they say about Taurus? What do they say about Sagittarius?
Yeah.
Which is so. Here's where we'll land with it. One of the defining qualities of Sagittarii is that we like to start projects and then leave them. And that feels natural and good to us. And so, yeah, like I feel good. I feel so happy about those 3 records. And I feel proud of them. And simultaneously, I can't imagine a world where after 2014, I was still a member of Vampire Weekend.
Yeah, it made the most sense for you.
I mean, I don't know if it's about making sense. I guess it's just like, on some level, it's like existential.
Are there things from your work on those 3 records that like, and your era spending time as a band member in Vampire Weekend, are there things from that time that you think you still sort of use today?
I mean, certainly, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
no, yeah, go ahead.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I think one of the things in that era that I think was an important element of my workflow was to work with every member individually, one-on-one. So to have time with Ezra one-on-one, that was a huge part of how those records were made. But to have time with Chris Baio one-on-one to record bass, to have time with Chris Thompson recording drums. And that was something that I learned from David Kahn, who produced a bunch of records, but he produced that Third Strokes record that I love. And I remember in 2009 just sort of sitting with him and talking with him. And I think what was in making the first Vampire Weekend record, we were juggling jobs and school still. And then it was entering the second record where it was just like, okay, now this is your only job is to make this next record.
Yeah.
And I think there were things that I had already started doing. I was already having, working with in this sort of one-on-one way. And then having David Kahn say it and tell me about how First Impressions of Earth was made and how his process was with each individual member of the Strokes. That was kind of like reaffirming, like, oh, you're already doing this and you know how to do this. And, that's something that I carry with me to this day. And I feel like so much of the work of producing is about this sort of one-on-one meeting of the minds.
Yeah, I was going to ask about your production work a little, because as you say, you produced many albums, you've produced a lot of songs on different albums. In between your solo work, in between other projects, I mean, what do you most enjoy about kind of hopping into someone else's world and kind of doing that production stuff for someone else's songs and someone else's work?
I enjoy being of service in a vision that is not my own, or a vision that's shared between me and another artist or another producer. I just feel like it's flexing different muscles. It's using different parts of my brain. It's problem solving, and it's a different kind of problem solving.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I do feel like I did an interview recently where I talked about how I think production is an art form, and I do. But I also think it's the art of problem solving 6 out of 7 days a week sometimes, you know? It's about solving problems sometimes, and that's fun, and I think those problems become different when you're collaborating with somebody as opposed to when you're making a solo album and all the problems are your own.
Yeah. Yeah, you're responsible for all those problems.
Yeah, you're responsible for the problems and the solutions.
Right.
Which, like I said, I do like that though too. So
yeah.
I like both.
Well, it's kind of like a puzzle. I mean, you have to figure out the moving parts and moving pieces and almost like an equation of some kind and like get to that end point. So
totally.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree.
So for this American Story cycle, you are heading out on tour with this band that you've mentioned, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you someone who really likes touring? I get a lot of different answers to this question.
I do. I like putting something together that feels sort of raw and feels spontaneous and feels like, I like creating these moments where it feels like anything could happen. And I think there's no other way to do that than, or there's no better way to do that in a live show. And there's a couple songs that we have a playback track, but I would say 80-90% of my show, there's no click track. Everything is free. Everybody's playing the instrument in front of them. So it is a spontaneous live experience, and I'm excited to bring that to the world.
Yeah, I mean, do these songs like start with just you usually?
I would say, yeah, most of the time.
Right. And then they build in. I mean, you add a lot of instruments, but you also have a few players on the record, and now you have this band, and so it must be kind of a cool process to like follow this song from its kind of raw inception to now you get to hear it with this American Stories band on a stage, and it's a cool transformation.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
So outside of this music or this tour, I've been trying to kind of wrap up my conversations lately by asking my guests what they're excited about or what brings them joy these days, because it's kind of in short supply sometimes these days. So what do you find lately gets you excited or brings you joy?
Yeah, I think one thing that has changed for me, and it might have to do with growing up in DC, where the summer is outrageously humid. But I definitely find as I grow older, I really love summer, and I love the long days. I love the sun, not setting until after 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I find that I'm more affected by winter. And, when winter comes and the sun is setting at 5, I really just am kind of like waiting for it to be over.
Yeah.
And I'm like, has it always been like this? Because this sucks.
Yeah, I know.
This hurts.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love summer now. That's something that I've discovered. I love being outside all day. I like the heat. As long as it's not too humid, I like the heat.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah, summer makes me feel good.
Well, it's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah, I mean,
and there's a record that will be your companion to the summer.
There you go.
Let it be.
And honestly, it is like a little summery. Like the vibe of the record is a little summery.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Let's go.
I mean, it kind of is like
album of the summer, album of the year, album of the decade. Come on.
There you go. Heard it here first.
I can't wait for people to hear it, and they can tell me what if they agree.
But you think that?
No, I'm kidding.
I know. But
who cares what I think? Remove me from the equation. And I think that is a funny part about making albums. Is like you work on this thing and then it's not yours,
right.
And what you thought of it doesn't even matter anymore.
Right. That's so true. I mean, you do kind of give it away. But at the same time, I was just talking about this on another chat recently. Like, I do think it is underrated to gas yourself up about your work. I think people think of it as being like arrogant, but we gotta like our own shit.
Well, Chris Martin, I feel like, is a good example of someone who was always sort of vacillating between like Coldplay is the best band in the world and Coldplay is a bit shit. And like, I think he sort of continuously promotes every Coldplay record by being like, this is the last one. We don't think we can do it again.
Yeah.
We don't have any songs. We don't know if we can write anymore. And but I think, in that there's a very real cycle of artists, loving themselves and hating themselves and believing in themselves and sort of losing out, not losing out, but losing their self-belief.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes success can really fuck with your ability to sort of calibrate, like, am I the best ever, or am I really bad and I just got away with a lot of shit because I got lucky, you know?
Right.
I think there's something about, staying hungry. It's really hard to stay hungry, I think. But I also think it's really important to.
Yeah. So, American Stories, album of the summer, incidentally coming out mid-May and May 15th.
I love that. It's gonna take, but now in this new era that we're living in, it's gonna take 6 weeks.
It's gonna trickle out.
It's gonna take 6 weeks for people to even hear the album, just because it's really hard to impact on release date.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yes, right on time. June. Summer starts June 20th.
Yep.
That's 5-6 weeks.
Yeah.
So
it'll land right where it's supposed to land.
We're hoping. We're crossing our fingers.
Yeah.
We've lost our confidence in ourselves, but
No.
we also believe in ourselves. We're struggling to find the equilibrium.
Always.
But thank you for having me. And if you made it to this deep in the podcast, then
thanks.
Thank you for sticking with us. I have this theory that if you can get to like 40 minutes into a podcast, you'll get somebody saying something that they'll never say in any other context, and not even the best interviewer could get out of them.
That's so funny.
From an accredited press.
Well, hopefully everyone who clicked play on this is still with us. That'd be so good. And thank you, Rostam, for hanging out for an hour. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Take care.